Welcome back to Interact with Intellect. We are now on the last leg of our journey. In this course, we have discussed a large number of things, but in this very chapter, we'll discuss in detail about how strategies are made and what happens to them afterwards. Sometimes they become realized and sometimes they become unrealized. We'll also take a look at some of the leadership characteristics that you need to have in order to implement strategies in a turbulent environment. We'll also take a look at the change management activities and the change management perspective and roles that organizations have to look at while implementing strategies. When you develop strategies, especially if you are following the rational model of a strategy formulation, and you come up with a plan and a series of steps to be implemented in a future time, then we call this an intended strategy or planned strategy. A planned strategy is basically based on a lot of homework, as we discussed earlier in rational model, that before making or formulating a strategy, we will conduct the environmental appraisal, we'll conduct the internal appraisal, we'll conduct the stakeholder appraisal. And after evaluating all this, we will develop a strategy which will help us taking certain actions in the times to come. This intended strategy, once it is implemented, is either converted into a successful plan, that is, it is implemented the way it was planned, or sometimes it is changed at a later stage because of some unavoidable circumstances. If the strategy is implemented as it is and is considered successful, we call that realized strategy. Otherwise, if the situation is different, then we call that an unrealized strategy. There could be a large number of reasons due to which planned strategies become unrealized. While making strategies, we make certain assumptions. We make plans based on certain expectations and probabilities. But it is not really necessary that all our expectations, all our anticipations, all our probabilities go exactly the way we want them to. So because of the deviations in the future events, there is always a possibility of a deviation in plan, and then the planned strategy becomes unrealized. We have also discussed in the previous chapters, in fact in the first chapter, about emergent strategies, whereby we do not make any intended or planned strategy. In fact, we keep moving and keep learning from the environment and keep finding what are the possible actions that we can take. However, when we compare the rational model with the emergent strategies model, there is a major difference. Both of them have some strengths. With the planned or with the rational model, the strength is that you have very good control on your strategy. You can predict that what are you going to do or what will you be doing in the times to come. On the other hand, with emergent strategies, there is a lot of learning from the environment. There is a lot of interaction with the environment. So if you are following the rational model, you are foregoing the learning from the environment, but you have control. But when you are following the rational model, you are foregoing the control, but you are in good contact, you are learning a lot from the environment. So Lindblom identified that how about finding a common way? How about following a pattern which enables us to get the benefits of both of these models? He identified a term, incrementalism or incremental strategies. He said that organizations usually try not to make drastic changes in their strategies. So what managers do is they continue with their existing strategy for a smaller period of time and then stop and analyze whether it is according to the environmental changes. Are we still aligned with the kind of changes that are required to sustain and survive in the environment? If the answer is yes, they continue with the same strategy. If the answer is that you need to make some changes, they make slight changes in the existing strategy and move on. And they keep repeating this practice after every period of time. By following this, there is some consistency. That is, they know that, okay, we are following a certain strategy for the next 1 year, but at the same time, there is a possibility of a review in that by the end of the next year. So you are not lagging behind a lot. If your strategy is failing, you will be lagging behind hardly 1 year, and that's quite reasonable under the current circumstances. So with incremental strategy, we are trying to get the benefit of both rational model as well as the emergent strategies. My dear friends, the biggest challenge that strategic formulation or strategy formulation has today is the allocation of resources. Once you decide to go for a certain strategy, then the biggest question is that how you are going to arrange and allocate the resources. For example, if you decide that we have to be aggressively marketing our products in order to enhance our market share in an existing market, then the next question will be how you are going to arrange these finances, how you are going to arrange more people for that, and what will be the role of various people in this particular situation. We must not forget that in any organization, whatever kind of strategy you make, there is always an impact of the organizational culture and organizational structure on the strategy formulation and its realization or unrealization. For example, in a bureaucratic culture, in an organization that operates like a formal bureaucracy, if you try to bring in a dramatic change and you want them to become innovative, fast-moving organization, this kind of a strategy is bound to fail. On the other hand, in a creative environment where people have the luxury and people have the autonomy to work on their own, if you will try to push in a lot of administrative power, or if you will try to increase documentation to a greater extent, people will not accept that. So please remember, strategies have to be aligned with the organizational culture and structure as well. In a highly competitive environment, the way we have today, organizations cannot survive without being innovative. Whether you talk about technology companies, whether you talk about the cell phone companies, whether you talk about the fast-moving consumer goods companies, or the automobile manufacturers, or the furniture makers, you talk about any one of them and you will find that there is one thing common which they all have to face, and that is innovation. Innovation is all about finding new ways, finding new methods, finding new processes to satisfy customer needs in a better, cost-efficient manner. Innovation is not only about coming up with bright new ideas, but it's also about coming up with using or utilizing existing resources in smart new manners. Organizations that have the capability to come up with innovative strategies will always have an edge over the others. Please remember, if your organization has the differentiating strategy, if you believe in differentiated products, then innovation becomes inevitable for you. It's vital, it's necessary. You can't live without it. How can we forget the examples of Apple and Samsung and BlackBerry? How can we forget how Toyota is creating value for its customers? Despite the fact that they faced a lot of difficulties in the recent past because of some model defects, still they are coming up with hybrid cars. Still they are coming up with better efficiency engines. Still they are coming up with innovative ways of delivering just-in-time cars. So with all this, organizations are trying to figure out ways and means to deliver better quality products, better quality services at most cost-efficient and economical standards.